hope you are doing okay. I wanted to walk you through a couple of things about Petrarch. I know it's sort of unfortunate that I'm not there right now, but we're going to try and do our best. We'll walk you guys through a couple of items on our Italian sonnets project that you guys started working on a couple of days ago. Um, I went ahead and gave you the key for all of the answers. We're going to walk through the first one together, but you do have the answers for all of the others. When we have our quiz, which right now I've moved to January 21st, this will be very important for you. So make sure you take a look at this. I've only put it in the content library. I did not distribute it to your notebooks, but make sure you're taking a look at this. But I did want to go through the first one together. So we're working from this sheet that we started earlier this week. So we're looking at the new Colossus by Emma Lazarus. And here's the key here. So I really quickly wanted to just go through the rhyme scheme. You've got the first octave, which is A, B, B, A, B, B, A. And then you've got the sestet, which is C, D, C, D, C, D. These items here are a little bit more subjective, but they do give you an idea of what we're looking at. So Quatrain 1 introduces the Statue of Liberty in opposition to the brazen conquering Colossus of Rhodes, the giant statue, one of the ancient wonders of the world, which was said to straddle the harbor at Rhodes. She is instead a mighty woman. Quatrain 2 develops this idea, casting her as holding imprisoned lightning that acts as a beacon welcoming in the world. She is the mother of exiles whose mild eyes look over the New York harbor. Then we've got the volta. This is kind of the change or the moment of a turn that we see. We turn from a description of the mother of exiles to hear her metaphorical words. And then in the sestet, those last 6 lines of the poem, she speaks out the crying display and ceremony and welcoming in those typically unwelcome, the tired, the poor, the oppressed, the homeless, the challenged. She will, in this new world, hold up the lamp to guide them home. So we're talking here, of course, about the Statue of Liberty. And what I want to do is I want to do our PTST chart using the Colossus of Rhodes, just to walk you guys through it. So I'm going to do this first one, and this will appear in your content library. So I'm doing this on Wednesday night. So by the time you guys listen to this video on Thursday, you should be able to access this chart as well, because I'm going to do it right now for us, and then you'll be able to follow along with me. So I'm going to pull up the chart here, and we're going to walk through each of these 4 items. Now, I'm going to try my best to do this. I don't know how easy this is going to be with trying to record, but we are going to do our best. I'm going to go ahead and type it out because I feel like if I try and draw with my pen, it's going to be a little bit messy, and I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. So first thing we're looking at is the plot. Now, if you go back down to the bottom here, I've given you notes on what each of the 4 columns is asking you to do. So plot, what's going on in the poem? Now, you already have help with this because you've already got that key that I provided for you. So we know that there's a comparison being made, right? We got the Statue of Liberty versus the Colossus of Rhodes. And the Statue of Liberty is described in the first, the octave, those first 8 lines. And then the Statue of Liberty speaks to those who come to her shore in the sestet. You see her, she says, keep ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. So that's just the plot, right? That's what's going on. Now, getting a little bit more in depth here, we've got the technique. Okay, this is looking at what formal or informal literary elements does the author use to construct meaning. So I've given you some examples here: diction, irony, imagery, metaphor, allusions, etc. But you could also talk about things like tone, attitude, mood, any types of descriptive words that the author uses to establish the main feeling of the poem. You can also look about the structure of the text, important and proper nouns, repeated images or ideas, and significant characterization change. So when I look at this poem, one of the first techniques that I see is the personification of the statues, right? Particularly the Statue of Liberty, right? So she's described as a mighty woman, and then she also has lines, right? She's got dialogue, she speaks. So personification would be a good thing to mention here. We might use the choice of allusion, right? Allusion is a reference to some other piece of literature or work of art. The Colossus of Rhodes is alluded to here as a point of contrast to the Statue of Liberty, right? Rather than the conquering statue, the Colossus of Rome, who's sort of conquering and aggressive, you have the welcoming figure of the Statue of Liberty. So when I'm looking at diction, I'm going to contrast the language of the conqueror, right, in the Colossus of Rhodes versus the language of welcome that the Statue of Liberty exhibits. Now, some repeated images, and there's more that we could talk about here. I'm just trying to give you guys an overview of what we're talking about. Now, as far as images, a couple of things stand out to me. The first one is the image of light, right? So she's holding a torch. They write about a flame. It's mentioned that something, imprisoned, lightning. I don't know how you spell lightning. There we go. So all of these are references to light, right? And we can think, okay, so there's a lot of mention of light here. What might light symbolize? So light might symbolize to us a beacon, right? Guidance, right? Light is sort of guiding us home. We might talk about clarity and vision, okay, which would emphasize this idea of the Statue of Liberty is sort of this light at the end of the tunnel for all of those who are seeking refuge on the shores of America. Now, looking at subject, moving on. This asks you to explain what the text is about. It says not about recounting the plot, but you're explaining what the text means. For example, the plot of Hamlet is about a young prince who is struggling with the responsibility of avenging his murdered father. However, the subject of Hamlet could be said to be indecision versus decisiveness, the relationship between parents and their children, or a variety of other things. Now, there are many correct ways that you could answer this question, right? What is the subject? But I would say that the subject of this poem is the Statue of Liberty, who stands in contrast to the Colossus of Rhodes. I might say it stands in contrast to the conqueror and is instead a point of welcome, warmth, and openness to all who seek sanctuary. Okay, so that's the subject. We could even be more simple than this, right? We could talk about conqueror versus welcome, right? Let's see, oppression versus freedom. We could talk about old world versus new world. Any of those things would be acceptable as well. Now, theme, this is where things get a little bit trickier, but you still have help because remember, if you go back to that previous key that I gave you up here, you have this little item here where it says overall. This is the overall idea of the poem. So for the Colossus, new Colossus, it says she is the opposite of conquering from line 2. She is fully developed as the mother of exiles. So you are free to use that to help you with your PTST chart. Okay, and that can also maybe help you with some of the other things as well. So the theme, and if you look here at the line I'm giving you here, you'll build upon what you've come up with in the previous columns to create a thematic statement. Okay, so I want this to be a full sentence, and it should function as a thesis statement that you might write if you were doing some kind of literary analysis of this poem. Okay, now this is tricky, so I want you to do your best, and we'll look over it together when I return to class. I'll probably be in class on Tuesday the 19th. So do your best, but I do want to see a full sentence that resembles a thesis statement about this. So mine might be for this, the Statue of Liberty who is called the Mother of Exiles, stands in openness and welcoming, stands in openness and in contrast to the oppressive image of the Colossus of Rhodes. Okay, it's a nice little thesis statement, even just if we're trying to just get started with the idea of the poem, okay? Now, once we've gone through each of these, look at the analysis that we've just done of this poem. This is a really in-depth analysis, and it's taken us, just a few minutes to get through. What I would like you to do, you should have 3 blank PTST charts in your notebooks. If you don't have 3 blank ones, you need to copy and paste them from the content library. I would like you to do a PTST chart for each of the remaining poems. So you'll need to do one for the poem What Lips My Lips Have Kissed and Where and Why. You'll need to do one for Death Be Not Proud, and you'll need to do one for How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways. Remember, use our sonnet key to help you so that you kind of have an understanding of what the poem is about when you go to do your PTST chart. I will leave this here in the content library, the one that we did for the new Colossus, for you to work through. And I'll even put the title here. And remember, when we're having some spelling issues, remember when we're talking about poems, we're going to write them in quotation marks. Okay, that is the correct notation for a piece of poetry. All right, so once you're done with that, I will go through and look at these on my own. We will go through them in detail on the 19th. Tomorrow, which is Friday, what is that? That would be the 15th. If you've not finished your PTST charts, you need to do that, okay? The PTST charts need to be done by the end of class on Friday. If you have finished, you may have a Dear Day. I would like every student to bring an AR book to class on Friday. Depending on what's going on with me at home, I might be able to Zoom with you on Friday in class, but I'm not going to make that promise because I'm not sure what things are going to look like for me here at home. So by the end of Friday, you need to have done all 3 of your PTST charts. And if you finish early, then you need to have your Dear Day. Okay, I'm giving you that time to get ahead on your AR reading. Those are your only 2 options. Okay, as of now, nobody has finished their AR testing for the quarter. So there's nobody that should have an excuse not to do their AR reading. We don't have school on Monday the 18th, and I am planning to be in class on the 19th to talk about these PTST charts and do a little bit more as far as schedule and Petrarch review. I will be updating the weekly agenda with some of this, but for now, do your best. If you have questions, please email me, and I will try and respond as quickly as possible. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye-bye.